Chapter 1. The Remnants of Civilization. In the year 2051, the world was nothing like it used to be. Big cities, once full of tall buildings and busy streets, were now just piles of broken bricks and rusty metal. After the big war with all the bombs, very few people were left. Among them were Logan, Maya, and Akira. Logan used to be a soldier. He was strong and knew how to stay safe in dangerous places. Now he used his skills to protect their little home. He wore clothes made from old army gear and was always looking out for any danger that might come close. Maya was really smart with fixing things. Before everything changed, she used to design big buildings. Now she used her know-how to make sure they had clean water and that their small generator kept working. She was always busy, trying to fix old radios or create something new from the things they found. Akira was the youngest. He was just a kid when everything happened. He was quick and had sharp eyes. Akira would climb up to the top of their shelter and watch for any scary creatures that might come by. He always had a homemade spear with him, just in case. Their home was simple, just a few walls that were still standing and a roof to keep out the rain. It wasn't much, but it was theirs. The air outside was bad, full of stuff that could make you sick, so they had to be careful. Outside, things were wild. The animals had changed, turning into weird and dangerous creatures because of the bad air. Logan, Maya, and Akira had to stick together and use their brains and strength to stay safe. Every day was tough. They had to find food, keep away from danger, and take care of each other. They weren't a real family, but they were close like one. They all shared the work and looked out for each other. Even though life was hard now, they had hope. They had their little home, and they had each other. Chapter 2. The Engineer's Sanctuary. Maya's corner of their shelter was like a secret world full of old machines and clever inventions. She had turned a broken-down building into a place where she could work and make things to help them survive. The room was dim, with only a few lights she had fixed herself. Her face glowed in the light of a big console she had put together from parts she found. The walls were covered with drawings and plans she had made. There were tools and parts scattered all over her workbench. She was always busy, trying to fix broken things or invent new gadgets to make their life a little easier. But even with all her skills, things were getting tough for Maya, Logan, and Akira. It had been a long time since Saul, the Toxin who brought them supplies, had visited. They were running out of important stuff like food, medicine, and things Maya needed for her work. Even their weapons were wearing out. And that was dangerous in a world with so many scary creatures outside. Maya tried to stay strong and keep working, but she was worried. They all were. Without new supplies, they couldn't fix things or defend themselves as well. It was getting harder to find food, and they were all feeling the strain. At night, Maya would sit at her console, looking at her drawings and trying to think of a way to make things better. Sometimes, she would hear strange noises outside, and she would hold her breath, hoping the shelter's walls would keep them safe. Logan and Akira tried to help, bringing her whatever parts they could find, but they all knew that what they really needed was for Saul to come back with more supplies. Every day, they would listen for the sound of Saul's truck, but the days turned into weeks, and there was still no sign of him. Maya kept working, trying to stay hopeful. She knew they depended on her to keep things running. She wouldn't let her friends down. Even in the hardest times, they stuck together. They shared their food, even when there was hardly any left. They took turns keeping watch at night, making sure they were safe. Chapter 3. The Scavenger's Trial. The next morning, Akira slipped quietly out of the shelter. His mission was clear: find anything that could be useful, food, medicine, even just a few nuts and bolts for Maya's projects. He made his way to an old supermarket, a place they hadn't checked in a while. As he entered the supermarket, the silence was eerie. Sunlight streamed through the broken windows, casting long, spooky shadows across the aisles. The shelves were mostly empty, but Akira moved carefully, his eyes scanning every corner. Strapped to his back was his trusty bow, a weapon he had mastered over time. Akira's heart pounded in his chest. He knew he wasn't alone. In the dim light, he could see them. Mutants, their eyes glowing faintly, their bodies twisted and strange. They used to be animals, maybe even people, but now they were something else, something dangerous. He took a step, and a piece of debris crunched under his foot. The sound seemed to echo in the vast, empty space. Akira froze, holding his breath. One of the mutants, a creature with too many legs and a mouth full of sharp teeth, turned its head towards the sound. Akira's mind raced. He had to be smart, quick, and quiet. He slowly drew an arrow, aiming at the creature. His hands were steady, even though he could feel the adrenaline rushing through his body. He released the arrow, and it struck the mutant with a thud, startling it. The creature screeched and staggered back, then turned and ran into the darkness. But now the other mutants knew he was there. Akira could hear them moving in the shadows, their strange, ragged breathing filling the air. He had to move fast. He darted down an aisle, ducking and weaving between the shelves. Every second counted. He grabbed whatever he could, a can of food here, a bottle of water there. His bag grew heavier, but he didn't slow down. He could hear the mutants closing in, their growls and hisses getting louder. Just as he reached the end of an aisle, a mutant leapt out in front of him. Akira didn't even think. He swung his bag, hitting the creature and knocking it to the side. He sprinted towards the exit, his heart pounding so loud he could barely hear anything else. He burst out of the supermarket and into the sunlight. For a moment, he just stood there, catching his breath, his hands shaking. He had made it. He was still alive, but there was no time to rest. Akira turned and ran back towards the shelter, knowing that Logan and Maya would be waiting, worrying about him. He had what they needed, at least for a little while longer, and that was what mattered. He was their scavenger, their hope in this broken world, and he wouldn't let them down. Chapter 4. The Toxin's Journey. Sol, known among the survivors as a toxin, moved through the desolate landscape that was once a vibrant town park. Now it was a swamp, glowing with an unnatural light from the mutated plants and animals. Clad in a suit designed to keep out radiation, Sol walked with a sense of purpose, his figure a stark contrast against the eerie backdrop. The remnants of a playground with its rusted swings and slides stood as a silent testament to what had been lost. Sol paused for a moment, taking in the sight. It was a reminder of why he did what he did, why he braved these dangers. He was more than just a courier of supplies. He was a lifeline, a connection to a semblance of normalcy in a world turned upside down. Sol's journey took him to the bazaar of the Baron, an underground marketplace that buzzed with activity. Here, traders and other toxins bartered for goods. The atmosphere was tense but energetic, each stall casting flickering light from makeshift lamps. Sol navigated through the crowd, his presence commanding attention. He approached a stall where another toxin, shrouded in a hooded cloak, waited. They exchanged words quietly, the details of their trade known only to them. Sol handed over some items he had gathered, bits of technology, medicinal herbs, and other rare finds. In return, he received what he needed: food, medical supplies, and mechanical parts, vital for the survivors waiting for his return. The walls of the bazaar were lined with relics from the world before, old signs, photographs, and tools. In the background, a large map of the surrounding wastelands was pinned up, marked with routes and safe havens. It was a reminder of the vastness of their new world and the dangers that lay beyond the relative safety of the bazaar. With his transactions complete, Sol prepared for the journey back. His bag was heavy with supplies, but his step was steady. He knew that Logan, Maya, and Akira were depending on him. As he left the bazaar and ventured back into the wasteland, he was keenly aware of the mutants and other dangers that lurked in the shadows. But he was ready. He had made this journey many times before, and he would make it many times again. Halfway through his route, a sudden noise jolted Sol from his thoughts. Bandits, drawn by the promise of his cargo, emerged from the shadows, their intentions clear in their desperate eyes. Sol's training kicked in. He knew he couldn't outrun them, burdened as he was with supplies, but he was not defenseless. Moving with a calm precision, he managed to outmaneuver the first bandit, using the environment to his advantage. The fight was silent but intense, each movement a calculation for survival. Just as he thought he had gained the upper hand, a mutant, drawn by the commotion, lunged from the darkness. Its form was grotesque, a nightmare come to life. Saul was now trapped between the bandits and this new, more deadly threat. His mind raced. In a split-second decision, Saul used a flare from his pack, creating a diversion. The mutant, its attention diverted by the sudden light and movement, turned on the bandits. Saul seized the moment, making a break for it, his heart pounding in his chest. The sounds of chaos faded behind him as he put distance between himself and the encounter. He knew the risks of his journey, but moments like these brought the reality of the wasteland into sharp focus. Saul pressed on, the weight of his responsibility to the survivors driving him forward. As dawn broke, Saul finally saw the familiar outline of the shelter. He was weary but alive, his cargo intact. The relief on the faces of Logan, Maya, and Akira as he arrived was worth every perilous step of his journey. He had brought them more than just supplies. He had brought them hope, a reminder that they were not alone in this fight for survival. As night fell, they sat together, sharing a meal and stories, their bond strengthened by the challenges they faced. Saul's presence was a reminder that there was still hope, still a chance for a future. And as they settled in for the night, they knew that tomorrow would bring new challenges. But for now, they were together, and they were alive. That was enough. As the morning light started to shine over the broken world, Saul got ready to head out again. He put on his special suit, which protected him from the bad air and danger outside. Logan, Maya, and Akira watched him, feeling thankful, but also a little worried. They knew they needed the stuff Saul brought to stay safe and healthy. Saul looked back at them and gave a small nod, as if to say he'd be back soon. Then he walked off into the wasteland, ready to find more supplies. Outside was tough and dangerous, but inside their shelter, they had a chance to keep going because of what Saul brought them. As Saul went away, the three friends turned back to their daily work in the shelter, their safe spot in a scary world. They knew Saul would come back with more things to help them survive. Life was hard, but they kept on, strong and hopeful, waiting for Saul to return. The cycle of survival went on, each goodbye and hello a part of their lives in this new world. Hey there, thanks so much for watching. I hope you found this video interesting and enjoyable. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps out a lot. Don't forget to subscribe for more content like this, and hit that bell icon so you won't miss any of our future videos. If you have any thoughts or questions, feel free to drop a comment below. I love hearing from you all. And if you're looking for more content to enjoy, check out our other videos. You might find something else you love. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.